The Air Force faces many challenges supporting its aging aircraft fleet and diverse global operations, which can be improved by integrating advanced manufacturing technology. Today, the Air Force has the oldest fleet of aircraft in its history, which on average is 27 years old. This aging fleet has many major support hurdles such as diminishing manufacturing sources, lack of technical data, rising cost of inventory, risk management, and multiple legacy support systems. The ability to manufacture parts at the right time and right cost will transform logistics.
My name is Lily Arcusa. I'm the Chief Technology Officer and Director of Engineering for the Rapid Sustainment Office. The supply chain marathon was actually inspired by a story I heard several years ago. Several F-35 ships were deployed to an exercise downrange on an aircraft carrier. The aircraft had broken and they did not have the right components on board the carrier, so they had to call back home in order for those parts to be sent. The aircraft carrier had to leave the area, the exercise, and come back and pick up the component at the main operating base so that those repairs could be conducted on board. The goal of this challenge is to ask our participants to think through this supply chain of the future and a way to leverage advanced manufacturing to supply components around the world to keep our aircraft flying.
There are 16 teams from all over the United States competing in the supply chain marathon.
One of the things we want them to think about is where to base 3D printers, where do we pre-establish a print center, or where around the world would we locate our printing capability to be able to provide those components.
Teams have 6 days to submit their strategies. Only 2 teams will advance to have their strategies simulated in the tyranny of distance scenario and compete for the $100,000 prize. This is the Supply Chain Marathon. With 16 teams participating, the Supply Chain Marathon is the largest challenge in the Advanced Manufacturing Olympics.
We had a lot of diversity on the teams that applied and were selected to participate in the Supply Chain Challenge.
Let's meet the teams.
We had some large defense industry companies, such as Boeing.
Hi, Ryan Blake. I work for Boeing Global Services, sit here in the Seattle area, representing the Boeing Global Services team.
Hello, my name is Joel Neidig. I'm the team lead for SymbiChain, and I'm also the CEO and co-founder of SymbiChain, and we're located in Plymouth, Indiana.
Stratasys is a huge player in the additive manufacturing realm.
My name is Scott Sevchek. I lead our aerospace business and will act as team lead for our submission.
We had many small businesses. Some of them were in logistics, some focused on additive manufacturing, some consulting companies that work kind of multiple sides.
Hi, I'm John Cupp.
Hi, I'm Tracy Coleman.
And then my name is John Roth, and our team is the RCC Consultants.
My name is Chris Ianta. I'm the founder of Mollyworks Materials, and we're in Cloverdale, California.
Hi there, my name is Rich Bokolu. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Parts Money, and we're located across the North Americas, all joined virtually for this event, and really looking forward to diving in.
Hi, I'm Samantha, and I'm a co-founder and catalyst for Read 3D. I have the honor of serving as the team lead for this challenge, as I have a MBA in supply chain management.
My name is John Savage, and I'm the CEO of Engitype. We have partnered with Markforged and have been asked to lead this effort.
Breaking news. This is Reba of DRAD Pacific News Network.
My name is John Pabanik. I'm a senior analyst with Syscon North America. I'll be the team lead. My experience is 15 years active duty in the United States Air Force, having graduated from the Air Force Academy in the class of 2000.
Another team that calls themselves the Fighting Sherpas is from Dayton, Ohio, and led by Fred Herman.
Hello, I'm Jeff Addison, president of Technovate. Our team has developed software that takes complex data and simplifies it into manageable information to facilitate better decision making.
Greetings, AMO. My name is Cody Sargent, and I'm here representing Team WR Engineering. We look forward to competing and the challenges ahead.
My name is Kate Overstreet. I'm a senior manager of network strategy at a large Fortune 50 retailer.
And I'm Simon Chow. I'm a senior associate at a large global consulting firm.
And
together we're...
I'm sorry, we should have practiced.
We also had several university students from Georgia Tech, MIT, and the University.
My name is Daniel Smothers. I am the team lead, and I am a junior accounting major at the University of Memphis.
Hi, I'm Leah Pettit. I'm a junior studying mechanical engineering at MIT.
Hey everyone, my name is John David Ross, and I am a current junior at the University of Memphis, majoring in biomedical engineering.
And we are the M-Squared Troublemakers.
And then finally, our military and government civilian teams as well.
I'm Colonel James Reganor, United States Air Force retired. I'm the CEO of Veritex.
We had a really diverse group of participants, and it was great to see all of their ideas coming from their perspectives.
The COVID-19 pandemic has restricted the ability for social and work-related gatherings for live events. Adjustments needed to be made by both the competing teams and the AMO in order to conduct this year's challenge.
So we elected to use wargaming software, which is typically used to evaluate different operational strategies. Originally, these challenges were all going to be done in person during the week of the event. We had dreamed up a way of basically doing a Dungeons and Dragons type evaluation. So we would get these strategies on one day, and the next day sit down and work through which aspects of these challenges would probably do well. When we moved to a virtual environment, that changed the way we thought about how to do the challenges. One of the benefits we had is being able to spend a little bit of time coding this into a wargame simulation and get a more objective look at these challenges.
The 16 teams were given the following wargame scenario.
Thank you for joining AMO News. I'm Simon Randall with a developing story out of the Air Force headquarters. Following a regional dispute over the discovery of the world's largest deepwater oil reserve in the North Pacific, the Pacific Alliance of Independent Nations, also known as PAIN, declared war on the United States last year, 2022. After 12 months of bitter fighting and the surprise assault and seizure of the island of Greenmere by PAIN forces, the United States now looks to regain control of the North Pacific and restore stability to the region. The United States Blue Force is preparing to reverse the momentum of PAIN by defending and holding the strategic island of Elfmore in the North Pacific from a naval invasion by the Alliance fleet. Failure to hold Elfmore could result in an air and missile attack on the island chain of Vargas, a critical air and naval facility for U.S. Blue Forces in the Pacific. Red Forces, a coalition of near-peer nations to the U.S., are attempting to expand their control of the North Pacific in order to acquire vital natural resources and trade in the region. Red forces have been successful at interdicting air and sea supply routes to Elfmore through naval air raids into Blue Force territories. These threats have disrupted critical supplies, causing part and material shortages at the U.S. Air Force Forward Operating Base, Elfmore Airfield. Elfmore Airfield is defended by 24 F-35A, 12 F-15C, 4 C-130J, and 2 CV-22 aircraft. Elfmore Airfield is also currently home to 5 portable maintenance hangars and 1 Army field hospital. If you, our viewers, have solutions to supply chain challenges described, please contact the Air Force Rapid Sustainment Office, the RSO, immediately. Details are available on the Advanced Manufacturing Olympics website. AMO will provide continued coverage as this operation unfolds.
The supply chain marathon is really important to the Air Force because it is tackling what the most efficient location and basing strategy for advanced manufacturing capabilities is to be able to provide components around the world at the point of need, wherever that is. The goal in this fictional scenario was to defend a small island and strike as many enemy ships as possible with the available resources. These were not meant to be easy, so we purposely wanted to really get kind of a gut instinctual response to what the challenge was and really get those first ideas to be able to inspire some of the innovation and the creativity.
Now that the teams have accepted the demands of the new scenario, they have 6 days to plan and perfect their strategies in the hopes of making it to the final phase of the competition, where the top 2 teams will be judged on the outcome of their strategies in the War Game simulation. It's day one of the competition. We head to Plymouth, Indiana to see how SymbaChain is doing with the challenge.
The main goal for our team right now today, it's basically defending this Elfmore base against this other Pain alliance that the U.S. has been fighting. But the red team is the Pain guys that are getting ready to attack the Elfmore base.
Our role is going to be defensive and support of defending the island, right?
Right.
We're
the blue. So we're the blue team.
We're not part of the offense.
No, the red team is the Pain. That'll be it. From what I gathered, does everybody else gather that?
So red teams are usually the opposing force, and blue team is the U.S. based force.
Right.
In the wargaming scenario.
I think we need to get down all the main idea of what we're trying to accomplish, and then all the components that go into it, like blockchain, additive, whatever else we have, and then we can start formulating the process.
While SymbaChain has proven experience in these wargame challenges, a team of young newcomers are confident they can rise to the challenge.
So our team, the M Squared Troublemakers, with us being University of Memphis and MIT, we went M Squared. And then we had to throw in Troublemakers because we're the young guys in the competition. We wanted to have some fun, stir some things up, but also that maker aspect of coming in with new ideas, looking at how can we revolutionize or innovate in areas that haven't been done before. This is our first time ever doing a challenge like this. I had seen the post randomly scrolling through social media and saw that, hey, this could be some fun. Let me talk with some of my buddies. My thought process from a planning perspective, let's go worst case scenario. The missile strike was late and the invasion was as early as possible. That gives us a 10-day window to get as much back up and running that we possibly can. So we were just kind of throwing around ideas at first. The other thing we do need to consider is we now have to train all these people on how to use these machines. So who's flying out to Elfmore?
Wait, we cannot just fly a civilian out to Elfmore and be like, why don't you hang out on this, relatively dangerous place, train some people,
I mean, I'd be fine. Let's go.
Let's see if Team Independent has put together their plan.
We don't come from Air Force or really military or government contracting backgrounds.
So already we've gone through the packets, we've taken some notes. Simon's made a map, so we kind of have a better understanding of where the bases are, better understanding of what the challenge is. So right now what we're really trying to figure out is what that strategy should look like.
The first day we spent a lot of time understanding the needs of the Air Force, how the Air Force integrates with the U.S. military, especially the kind of logistics command portion, where are our bases kind of globally. We know a good amount about 3D printing and advanced manufacturing in general, but just brushing up on kind of making sure that our knowledge was current there as well.
We kind of have an idea right now that we want to have maybe 4 to 7 bases, but we're not exactly sure kind of where to locate them.
Let's see how SymbaChain is doing.
Let's get all the slide and content in there and put comments in on the Google Drive.
We're almost to 11 now, our time, so.
So the slide deck that's going to get created, that's going to be available on the Google Drive this evening?
That's right. They're kind of not giving us a whole lot of days to really get ready. Can you imagine a Boeing or somebody else trying to do this in 6 days?
It's game on.
It's game on, that's right.
SymbaChain is confident they're off to a good start. Let's check in on Boeing Global Services.
Interestingly enough, we actually, had a team experience from day, four through 6 through my work computer, of all things, our VPN blocks box.com. And so we weren't able to actually receive the submission material through that mechanism. In 2020, we often take for granted as far as internet access or Wi-Fi connection.
Leah, are you frozen?
Yeah, she's frozen. I think we just lost Leah.
Yeah, Leah. She's been having issues with internet today, so.
If you actually think about some of the information that was presented in the scenario, I'm not sure that would be guaranteed. And if we're trying to transfer data at very large file sizes from site to site, maybe that would throw a wrinkle into our plans.
It says they offer combat power as well, so do we assume that we can use fighter planes,
looking at what we have at our disposal, because that does give us more AC-130s. I don't think we're going to need the ICBM. Just
no, we're not launching missiles, buddy.
Probably not going to be best for shipping.
Right.
Just taking a guess there.
Let's check back in with Simba Chain.
What we need to be able to prepare is like, we can use our rapid lab. We can support it with the repairable runway. So like if they attack the runway and it causes issues, damage, we can rapidly print that.
Best way I heard the Army tent described. Are y'all familiar with the TV show MASH?
Yes.
If you were a bit confused as to what that might look like, that's what we're getting for our medical.
Exciting. We're not trying to figure out how we fight this war, right? We're just trying to figure out how we get the stuff where it needs to go.
This is where our diversity as a team came into play. So John David and Leah, Leah is a mechanical engineer studying at MIT, and John David is a biomed engineer studying here at University of Memphis. But I'm the oddball of the group. I'm the accounting business major that has a bit of an engineering background with just personal hobbies and research that I've done and just things I've been involved with. If I was launching the attack, I would also destroy the hangars as well as the aircraft. In fact, I would leave one aircraft if I could destroy all 5 hangars. Because if they have no hangars, they can't fix anything.
Right.
The process thing you were talking about is got the right idea, concept behind it, because if we're supporting the offensive forces, the blue forces, in executing a mission, our goal is actually exactly what you said. If there's damage to the runway, we repair the runway. If there's damage to any kind of equipment, we would be able to, or parts related stuff, as long as we're provided the source data, we can create the solution.
Blue forces are also sending in cutoffs for air and sea routes.
Red Force.
Or Red Force, yeah.
Red Force.
Red Forces. Yeah.
We're blue.
We're blue. True blue. There you go.
There you go.
Let's see how Veritex Corp is doing.
I thought maybe the take would be, since it is a war game, we could simulate that I was recalled back to active duty to create this strategy. So I donned my ABUs and made it look like I'm sitting on the ramp at Vargas. What do you think?
Looks pretty good. Even the pixelation's not bad with the way it looks in the back. Pretty good.
Yeah, actually, it looks like I might be actually at Vargas. So our strategy going into this war game or the competition really was to immerse ourselves into the game. We find best when you do a simulation, if you can be immersed by looking from the outside, you'll have much better results. Vargas is really the main operating base in the Pacific. It's under attack from Paine, and they're going to strike Elfmore, which is a forward base for the same distance from Hawaii as Wake is. It's Wake Island. They're going to attack them. They're been continually interdicting our supply chain, so we need to create a digital option that we can push parts directly out to the forward operating area.
I was in the Air Force back in the early 80s. I was a mechanic on the flight line. The additive 3D piece really is a major boon and benefit to the flight line worker because it can make your job so much simpler in execution time. You can really measure in hours as opposed to maybe a full day or a week to get a job done.
We did some proofs of concept for DoD in 2018 where we were able to reduce long lead times on F-15 parts from 265 days down to 6 hours. Those times are from order to delivery. All right, so that's a big deal.
One interesting idea that Simon brought up in our first meeting was around, some kind of dropped container of 3D printing machines or some way to kind of modularly send 3D printers to different parts of the country. So we're sort of exploring that as well.
We've made some maps of where Air Force bases are around the world, but we want to see if maybe, hypothetically we could gain an advantage by opening a base somewhere where there are no bases.
So I think one of the biggest things is thinking through how would those transportation lanes work? Where would we have the bases? How many printers at each one? And so I think we still have a lot of thinking to do and analysis to figure those questions out.
Days 1 through 3 could very much represents a realistic supply chain challenge dilemma that would exist. I talked to some of our teammates in Boeing Global Services and Air Mobility Command, and a lot of time is spent waiting for parts that need to be on the aircraft or equipment. And so presenting that as a real challenge is something that we hope to be addressed in the supply chain of the future.
The third day, we spent that kind of diving into the operational and the financial details. So that's where we came up with our idea to make these kind of discrete units that could be easily deployed in the field or moved around kind of in stand-up printing capability anywhere, not only on land, but also on ships or maybe even in the air.
When we first got the challenge, when we first started out, we were really thinking about, big picture, globally, how do we develop a supply chain strategy that works in peacetime, works overall for all of the different Air Force bases and facilities. And then kind of as the challenge progressed, we were thinking, okay, now how do we make sure that that works for the tyranny of distance scenario? Does it work for the tyranny of distance scenario? What changes do we need to make sure that it really works in that specific context as well?
So, slight change in plans. I think I've talked to both of y'all earlier today, and I do want to get your feedback on it. Yesterday, we left off talking about a destroyer as a mobile manufacturing studio.
I think it's a fantastic idea. You talked about cost-saving strategies. You talked a little bit about seating. So if we use these pods, we're able to transport maybe 3 or 4 big storage container units on one C-17 or C-130 plane.
We envision ourselves actually sitting on Vargas and looking for the gaps. If you look up at the Mars, you say, man, it's going to be really hard to get here. Instead of standing on Mars, looking back at Earth, accepting the fact you're able to get there, and now creating how you got there. They may think I'm crazy for doing it like this, but I want to establish my credibility that, hey, I understand this problem, and post-military, it's something I've been thinking of. So that's really my take.
I only wish that you would have had the multi-cam camis when you retired so you could wear the Veritex hat.
Well, that would look good. I could use a hat. I'd be getting a little bit of sunburn here in Vargas.
There are a few teams who have been around supply chains more than RCC consultants.
So this is August 11th at 3 p.m. This is Team RCC Consultants. And this is one of our final meetings where we're going to be reviewing our final pitch.
It is 9:29 Central Time, and we are the Troublemakers working on our presentation last minute, as always. Now we actually start talking about what we're doing.
Let's check back in with Boeing Global Services.
One of the breakthroughs we had on day 5 was thinking about how to illustrate what exactly we were trying to propose in the submission. And so it sounds a little corny, but we did settle on the tried and true old-fashioned PowerPoint animations. And when we think about a geographic scenario as the tyranny of distance presented, we really wanted to try to visually illustrate what it would look like in practice for different supply bases and different areas to support, and kind of do that in the map view.
Days 5 and 6 were mainly focused around rehearsing the presentation, recording things. We had to do quite a bit of takes because we're not really familiar with self-recording.
Eric, tell me a little bit about strategy for the tyranny of distance war game.
Well, Jim, I'm glad you asked that question.
Don't say Jim. Remember, I'm not on. Just say, you're trying to be cute. Just answer a question. Just say we use a classic capabilities-based strategy for the tyranny of distance war game.
We use a classic capability. Hold on, Jim. I lost it there.
None of those words in there.
A classic
capabilities-based strategy.
We use a classic based logistics.
Classic capabilities-based strategy for the tyranny of distance war game.
I'm messing up. I don't know.
Thanks a lot, Eric. Oops. I might not have recorded any of that. Hold on a second. Doesn't look like I did. All right. All right, let's go.
After a long week of brainstorming ideas and several Zoom calls, the 16 teams are now ready to submit their strategies to the judges.
So our strategy submission is focused around basing strategy with 5 additive manufacturing centers, which are basically large hubs that centralize raw material ordering, large 3D printers, as well as small 3D printers covering a wide range of materials. And then those additive manufacturer centers then replenish the spokes of the model, which are the Air Force bases, with both raw materials to support those bases 3D printing operations, as well as additional 3D printer technology.
Our strategy was largely to try to come up with a plan that could be implemented using existing resources. And so we understand that's probably a little different than what a lot of the other teams were doing. But we kind of took a good close look at especially the locations within the Boeing Global Services and Air Mobility Command portfolio. And really, we wanted to come up with something that would be beneficial for our partnership between Boeing Global Services and Air Mobility Command.
Our strategy very quickly became one of leveraging the experience we've had supporting customers and finding the most efficient way to deliver parts as quickly as possible to someone in need. We also focused in on a strategy of having one spare on the shelf. So rather than always having to produce the part you need, make sure that first part is available and that you are in a mode of restocking your limited spare supply rather than only starting to create the part when it's called for.
I'm sorry, I can't help but grin. The more and more I'm thinking about this idea, I'm just slowly loving it, and I want to see it.
Right.
I'm a little bit concerned that it might be ridiculous, but I think ridiculous is a good thing in this kind of context, so I am here for it.
If the Air Force was to reach out and ask us to come in and pitch the idea of seeds, then I'd be fully in. I will say, as a college student, it'd be a little intimidating, but I'd be more than happy just because this is the realm that I really enjoy of going, looking at odd challenges and seeing, okay, how can we revolutionize? How can we innovate? How can we improve on the processes that are already here or create all new ones? So if that call came in, I'd say let's go.
Time is up and team strategies have been submitted. Now it's up to the judges to deliberate.
The judges evaluated several factors. They evaluated the efficiency of a strategy, innovation, looking for things that are new to the Air Force or unique, something that a team has to offer that we haven't seen before, quality and risk, and then of course cost benefit. We really asked the teams to think a little bit about what the cost would be versus the benefit of the strategy and come up with a realistic and really viable option.
I felt that sometimes we were comparing apples and oranges. So we had some students, for example, with great ideas, right, and a great narrative and enthusiasm trying to participate, but they were severely disadvantaged from companies that not only they're more savvy, if I remember well, I think they had great animation, but most importantly, they had software that was dedicated with great experience working with DoD and AFRL. For younger girls and guys, you might want to give them an opportunity also for recognition, because often from the small guys who don't have an experience with the sector, the Air Force might pull up some great ideas.
Well, from my notes, it looked like he was probably one of the more expensive options, and that might be because they didn't understand how logistics works and how AM kind of works. And I think they're just kind of shooting in the dark on some of that stuff.
I need to have a resilient supply chain, right? It costs more money, but I want that resilient to be also cost-effective and competitive. So how do you do that?
Exactly.
Right?
The judges have deliberated and decisions have been made. The top 2 qualification winners will go on to compete in the War Game Simulation Competition, which will determine the overall marathon winner. The scoring will include calculated game elements such as the number of right parts produced, on-time delivery and missed sorties, and includes 5 points for judges' discretion.
We're here today with an announcement. We want to let you know that you guys were selected as one of the 2 finalists to go on to the final round. So congratulations. That's a big accomplishment. We're very, very proud of that.
To be a finalist in the inaugural Additive Manufacturing Olympics is very exciting.
We had a really competitive first round. There were a lot of really good submissions and great creative strategies. Today we're here to make the announcement that you guys were one of the 2 finalists to go on to the final round. So very excited about that, and congratulations to all of you.
We were pumped to first even get the invite, when we got the email last night, it was just like amazing.
The second phase of the challenge was to take the top 2 strategies and input them into the wargame software. And so those 2 teams, Stratasys and Symbichain, then competed in head-to-head competition.
Team strategies were discussed independently with team leads. From Stratasys and Symbichain, data was collected and then verified to ensure capabilities were appropriately captured from modeling into the simulation.
This video provides a brief overview of current technology assessment approaches UDRI is employing that leverage the power and versatility of Command PE. Processes described are neither prescriptive nor exhaustive, but provide an example of what is possible. UDRI has hosted several technology evaluation wargames for the U.S. Air Force that comprise a continuously evolving methodology for agile, physics-based wargaming. These wargames bring together one or more team sets to evaluate novel technology and innovative doctrinal concepts. The teams comprise a blue actor and its red adversary in an operationally relevant geopolitical context. Battles between red and blue are multi-domain, air, land, sea, space, and cyberspace engagements, taking place over a significant geographical area and last from hours to days. Each team set is given objectives, forces, and rules of engagement that shape the resulting battle and provide a simulated timeline and end state. Data is gathered from the conflict phase of the engagement, and conclusions can be drawn about human decision-making processes and the performance of the concepts involved. The games often involve new sensors, weapons, or aircraft designs that push the boundaries of modern technology and conventional doctrine. Recent software additions enable and support this endeavor. Among them, hypersonics, cargo operations, shore landings, cooperative engagement capability, and others. The software's ability to quickly build out digital representations of hypothetical and far future concepts is key to the representation of near and far future peer, multi-domain engagements between great powers. Its ability to model a wide breadth of legacy and currently fielded systems is likewise useful, considering the number and continuing importance of older, proven systems to the militaries of every major power. Mastery of emerging systems like hypersonics, directed energy, selectable lethality, autonomy, and others offers an arena of competition that will confer benefits on those who are prepared for their advent. Likewise, those who are prepared to seamlessly integrate new and old, proven and emerging across all domains may reap long-term military advantage. The combination of the command software tool and a refined wargaming process yield interesting, fast-turn results to challenging problems and urgent questions. Command is versatile, adaptable, and user-friendly enough to be quickly picked up and applied to important tasks, while maintaining reasonable fidelity to physical reality. It occupies a useful middle ground between the tabletop exercise and the traditional engineering model. Leveraging all of these distinct traditions is vital to the continued supremacy and innovative advantage of the United States, NATO, and the Pacific Allies, and the maintenance of a rules-based international order.
It's time for the Wargame Simulation. This is Tyranny of Distance.
Hello, I'm Simon Randall reporting from AMO News with an update on the hostilities unfolding in the North Pacific. As feared in the report from Air Force Headquarters last August, the Pacific Alliance of Independent Nations, Red Forces, known as PAIN, moved 2 carrier battle groups to within striking distance of U.S. Blue forces stationed on the island of Elfmore. Fortunately, military planners anticipating this move enlisted the help of 2 teams specializing in advanced manufacturing and supply chain strategies to bolster forward operations in rapid aircraft parts replacement, emergency support parts, and critical repairs should hostilities break out. The first team, Symbichain, provided 6 fully staffed forward operating rapid additive manufacturing labs at Elfmore. These self-contained, interconnected portable AM labs are designed and built to meet military specifications and electromagnetic pulse defense standards. They are capable of printing most needed parts and include all the components, technology, and resources necessary for polymer and metal additive manufacturing. 2 additional rapid AM labs and 1 large area additive direct energy deposition station are available aboard the on-station landing helicopter assault ships floating offshore. The rapid labs are protected against cyber attacks through proprietary software and communicate using the SpaceX Starlink system. SymbaChain is also well positioned to rapidly respond to demand and produce larger parts on the island chain of Vargas, the U.S. mainland, or procure materials from military depots should reach-back support be required. The second team, Stratasys, is equally powered with an end-to-end tiered advanced manufacturing strategy to maximize repair options and readiness to ensure the defense of Elfmore. Containerized, forward distributed AM cells deliver maximum capability to the point of need and immediate part availability with rapid stock replacement. The rugged AM cell delivers polymer, high-performance additive printing, basic machining, and workbench and connectivity to the tactical warfighter. Their strategy includes a one-on-the-shelf approach to supply, a digital twin approach to part validation, secure global connectivity between field requirements, and advanced rapid response at the appropriate level between Elfmore, Vargas, or the maintenance depot. Stratasys brings distributed manufacturing, delivering supply chain depth with agile reach-back insurance to support the unique military requirements anticipated at Elfmore. The remote location of Elfmore from the U.S. mainland requires critical parts to be manufactured closer to the battlefield to ensure U.S. aircraft are postured to defend Elfmore. 2 teams of AM specialists, SymbaChain and Stratasys, created detailed plans to support the U.S. Air Forces assigned to defend Elfmore, which included print-on-demand production of critical spares, tools, and infrastructure repairs, as well as strategies to maintain reliable and agile resupply. To provide more detailed insight into how critical these fortifications have proven to be, we have our own war correspondent Dan Morgan on the phone from U.S. Blue Forces Air Base located at Elfmore Island. Dan, what can you tell us about the hostilities our forces are facing?
Well, Simon, military officials tell us that within hours of Payne's arrival off the territorial waters of Elfmore, Blue Forces F-35 and F-15s were engaged in aerial combat with Payne carrier aircraft in order to soften the island's defenses. Recently, the fighting has intensified, and I have received reports that damage from Payne Red forces is starting to cause parts shortages for the F-15 and F-35 aircraft stationed here. Fortunately for Blue Forces maintenance personnel, the forward-deployed teams of SymbaChain and Stratasys have sprung into action, utilizing their superior capabilities on site to address parts shortages and repair problems. SymbaChain's rapid AM labs and Stratasys rugged AM cells 3D printers, tooling, communications, and agile supply capabilities have proven highly effective as these teams of AM specialists print on-demand metal and polymer aircraft parts closer to the point of use. Resupply and maintenance is obviously critical to Blue Force's success here at Elfmore. Back to you, Simon.
After 2 weeks of intense fighting in the skies around Elfmore Island, the logistical toll on the viability of U.S. Blue Forces aircraft was significant. Both AM specialist teams of SymbaChain and Stratasys worked hard to provide the needed aircraft parts to keep Blue Forces aircraft flying and defend the airbase and support the airmen working there. The fighting leveraged heavy demand for spare parts, generating 156 urgent spare requests that traditional inventory stocks would not have been able to meet. The SymbaChain Rapid Labs on Elfmore Island and the Rapid Lab capability located on Blue Force aircraft carrier off the coast contributed immensely to addressing those demands. The strength of Stratasys' rugged AM cell and multi-tiered resupply capabilities located at both Elfmore and on the island of Vargas also proved invaluable to rapidly manufacturing and transporting aircraft spares to sustain flight operations on Elfmore. We have our war correspondent Dan Morgan on the line with additional information.
Thank you, Simon. After the massive air battle more than 2 weeks ago, Payne forces tried to strike a decisive victory at Elfmore by launching a missile attack against the base runway, using both ballistic and air-launched cruise missiles from Red Forces-controlled bases in the North Pacific. These missile strikes were intended to render the runway at Elfmore unusable for weeks, but both the Simba Chain and Stratasys teams were able to additively manufacture the critical runway components needed to complete repairs in under 72 hours. Unfortunately, this was not the only challenge Blue Forces have had to face. An outbreak of COVID-19 cases hit the base, resulting in a severe shortage of medical personal protective equipment, or PPE. Air Force medical personnel were concerned with protecting the aircrew stationed at Elfmore and keeping everyone operation ready. Fortunately, in addition to the additively manufactured runway parts and spare aircraft parts, both AM specialist teams were also able to produce the necessary quantity of PPE medical shields, resulting in no pilot shortfalls or missed flying missions. Back to you, Simon.
That's promising news, Dan, as Blue Forces prepare to conduct offensive operations against Payne Force warships in the coming days. It will be critical for the U.S. Air Force team stationed at Elfmore to be at full strength. Thanks to efforts at both Simba Chain and Stratasys teams, looks like they are going to be well on their way to victory. AMO News will provide continued coverage of the situation in North Pacific as operations unfold. Simon Randall reporting from AMO News on the fighting in the North Pacific. Payne forces are in full retreat tonight, but not before several back-and-forth battles between the two sides. In the days leading up to the U.S. Blue Forces attack on Payne's warships, our warfighters were nearly crippled with a fleet-wide grounding of their F-15 and F-35 fleets due to the discovery of cracking in the nose landing gear bracket. This bracket is critical for the proper deployment and retraction of the landing gear, making it impossible to take off or land without correcting this problem. Both teams work to produce the metal part replacements according to their unique strategies. The first team kept 11 of the 12 F-15s and 22 of the 24 F-35s operational. The other AM specialist team was able to support 9 F-15 and 18 F-35 flying combat missions. In the end, Blue Forces were able to defeat the Payne Red Forces off the coast of Elfmore. During the final attack against Payne warships and carriers, one of the AM specialist team's impressive strategy maintained availability of crucial resources, which directly contributed to the Blue Forces sinking 19 of the 25 Red enemy ships. America owes an enormous debt of gratitude to both Simba Chain and Stratasys for their support to our men and women on the front lines. Without them, the outcome in this scenario would have been quite different. I'm Simon Randall with AMO News. Thank you and good night.
Now that all is well at Elfmore, let's check in with our teams to find out who has experienced supporting requirements in a military environment similar to tyranny of distance.
I've never participated in battle or theater or anything like that. I've only supported a war game in the past, somewhat like the tyranny of distance. It was back in 2018 for the Pentagon. Tyranny of distance was much more advanced in its complexity and different scenario.
We have been working both within the commercial space as well as within the defense space on sustainment strategies. Over the course of this past year, in 2020, when we're dealing with the COVID pandemic, we have had a situation where our technology has proven vital to addressing supply chain gaps. Being able to make the aerospace industry the largest provider of face shields really overnight because they had the technology in place, they had the right materials, and they were able to use it.
Our company has experienced a similar situation to the tyranny of distance, just dealing with the current COVID situation. I'm sure, pretty much every supply chain has experienced disruptions, whether that be from, vendors or in the transportation market right now is pretty crazy, and then just availability of labor. So I think it's been really interesting to see how that's played out.
We have not directly to the scenario. It was really interesting to embark upon that journey. We have taken a good close look at distributed supply models and tapping in to different sites, but it was really interesting having kind of the war game scenario called the tyranny of distance that was kind of expanded our thinking in the realm.
Let's check back in with RCC Consultants. They know the pitfalls of the supply chains in the past and have hopes for the supply chains of the future.
I think that a big critical part of it is just the data management of it and the data sharing. We've talked about the blockchain.
Definitely analytics are going to play a key role in supply chain management as we go into the future.
It's about speed. We talk about tyranny of distance, and it's really a tyranny of speed.
When you do have to do repairs or you are doing new engineering upfits or anything, think about how can you make it better? How can you improve the process? How can you get it done faster?
Never lose sight of the fact that no matter how old you get, you've got to be open to lifelong learning. And you can always learn something from others and from the various experiences that you go through in life, good, bad, or indifferent.
I think we need some of these new ideas and some of the younger people to come in and say, no, what if we do this? Not only to ask the question and understand the process, but also having that innovative mindset, that entrepreneurial mindset of go in, question, learn, how can we improve? How can we make things better?
With their combined years of experience in the Air Force, Veritex Corp has a plan for the future of supply chain management.
The next steps for future development of supply chain management is really seeing this transition to digital supply chains. In the Air Force today, with a ground deployment, we'll take 8 or 9 different shipping containers full of spare parts. Just think if you could reduce that by half and be able to print the consumables where you need them. That's where we're headed.
I think the added fabrication capabilities and the connection to a broad supply base is very, very important for the supply base of the future. That way, if we can use the back shops, if we can use the metals tech offices on the Air Force side, if we can use the Boeing side, and some of the big fabrication centers we have and production sites, with that, it opens kind of a new door to explore related to a global supply chain and sending parts and solutions around the world.
I believe the next steps for the future development of the supply chain management would be the further interconnectivity of the supplier networks. So actually being able to understand the visibility of what the capacity constraints are within all the facilities and being able to optimize that for better on-time delivery and quicker execution.
Let's find out if this challenge met their expectations.
I feel like this competition definitely challenge us to think differently than our 9-to-5 jobs. Really interesting problem to think about, and I think it's great to think strategically, to think long term about not being constrained to just what's possible right now, but really planning for that future scenario when we're able to leverage these technologies even more than we are today.
We really had a lot of fun thinking about the wargame aspect. We're really excited about the idea of being able to take a material and turn that into a family or a variety of different necessary parts.
It is a great way of looking at the challenges the Air Force is facing, and it's been a tremendous opportunity for Stratasys and many others to jump in and share what we know and our suggestions on how we can help.
It was a great exercise. I had a great opportunity to team up with 3 grizzled veterans in our various manufacturing profession. And I think it does give folks an opportunity, those of us that are in our 50s, to really take a look at some of the current challenges where things are at right now and apply those 30 years of experiences of what worked, what didn't work, what challenges, what bottlenecks, the things that we overcame to get to where we are today to help project and pass on that to the next generation that's coming up.
And finally, the answer we've all been waiting for.
One of the things that everybody wants to know is, will y'all be back? Regardless of what happens in this competition, I will be keeping up to date with these Olympics as they continue moving forward, and I think this team will be returning. I think we did very well. We were able to work very well remotely. There were only 1 or 2 times that any of our team members actually met in person, and we were able to work very well remotely, and I think that we will be back next year.
The judges have deliberated, and decisions have been made. Tune in to the AMO Awards ceremony to find out who won the Supply Chain Marathon.